This is Glenn Healy.
Hi, this is Braden Holtby.
This is Daryl Sutter.
Hi, this is Brian Burke.
This is Jordan Tutu.
This is Keith Morrison.
This is Kelly Rudy.
Hi, this is Scott Hartnell.
Hey, everybody. My name is Theo Fleury.
This is Tim McAuliffe of Sportsnet, and you're listening to the Sean Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. Happy Wednesday, hump day. Hope everybody's having a great week, man. Is summer starting to blow by already? I hate to even put that thought in your head, but geez, it's getting to be the midpoint in July, and it's cruising by. So enjoy it while it's here, and hopefully you're listening to this on the way to the lake or out to a ball game or somewhere outside to enjoy the sunshine and good weather we're having right now. Before we get to today's archive episode, let's get to our episode sponsors, Jen Gilbert and team. For over 45 years, since 1976, the dedicated realtors of Coldwell Banker Cityside Realty have served Lloydminster and the surrounding area. They offer star power, providing their clients with 7-day-a-week access because they know service is a priority. Why? Because big life decisions aren't made during office hours. And did you know when it comes to rental properties, they are the biggest licensed residential property management company in the city of Lloyd. They deal with over 250 rental units, and we're talking houses, apartments, and condos. So Coldwell Banker Cityside Realty for everything real estate, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Give them a call, 780-875-3343. Mac Construction, they've been doing business locally for over 12 years now with over 100 homes completed. They are a design, build, custom home building operation that is specialized in constructing custom homes, cottages, and RTMs throughout Lloydminster and community since '08. In addition to custom home building, Mac Construction does extensive renovations to residences and light commercial work. If you're looking to build your dream house, head to macconstruction.ca and look no further. Crude Master Transport since 2006. They've been an integral part of our community. I've seen it firsthand through the sports teams I've played on. The recent initiative we did with the Bike for Breakfast group, raising money for the breakfast programs in Lloyd and surrounding communities. Crude Master always steps up, and that's a huge hat off to Heath and Tracy and family over at Crude Master. They always do what is right for our community and put their best foot forward at all times. I'm looking forward to seeing what Crude Master does next. HSI Group, they are the local oil field burners and combustion experts that can help make sure you have a compliant system working for you. The team also offers security, surveillance, and automation products for residential, commercial, livestock, and agricultural applications. They use technology to give you peace of mind so you can focus on the things that truly matter. Stop in today, 3902 52nd Street, or give Brody or Kim a call at 306-825-6310. Chris Wiebe and Kiva Concrete, open for business, specializing in commercial, agricultural, and residential, and they do pretty much everything. Basement floors, driveways, sidewalks, patios, garage pads, shops, barns, and countertops. Have you been on the Spiro's patio, their brand new one? Yeah, guess who did the cement work on that one? Essentially, if you can dream it, they can do it. Give the boys a call at 780-871-1083. If you're looking for outdoor signage, head no further than Read and Write Advertising. They've done an excellent job with the SNP billboard, of course. They did my wall quote and the SNP logo in the office, and they frosted my window. So they've done me a lot of great work over the course of a couple of years, and they're top notch. So if you're looking for any work, stop in and see Read and Write. They'll get you hooked up. Gartner Management is a Lloydminster-based company specializing in all types of rental properties to help meet your needs. Whether you're looking for a small office or a 6,000 square foot commercial space, give Wade Gartner a call today, 780-808-5025. And if you're heading into any of these businesses, let them know the podcast sent you that way. And let's get on to that T-Bar 1 tale of the tape. Born and raised in Lloydminster, history enthusiast, photographer, volunteer, family man, and community pillar. Talking about Don Whiting. So buckle up, here we go. Okay, so November 22nd, 2020, sitting with Don Whiting. So first off, thanks for coming in and sitting down with me.
Pleasure. Heard good things about your podcast, so yeah, and recording local history, so thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you haven't listened to any because I don't mean that as a slight. What I mean that is I feel like you're in for an experience. I hope I provide a good experience for you because you honestly have no idea what's coming for you.
That's
and
right.
I search out when you have the opportunity to do something for the first time and have really no idea what you're getting yourself in, and then be pleasantly surprised? How many times has that happened in your life?
Well, it's probably the Coke and the meal afterwards that I'm looking forward to here. But thank you for that.
Now, the way we start this all out is I want to know where you grew up, and maybe some things from your childhood that are kind of like first memories, whether it was growing up on the farm or in town, or what you did for work, play.
It is
school.
going to be a test, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we're gonna dig into that mind of yours. I want to get in between the ears, so to speak.
No, we're just raised on the farm, 4 miles north, only child, and Dad had bought that place in the 40s from Mrs. Wetton, actually the lady that wrote the book The Promised Land about Lloyd history, and so he'd bought that. His former home was just up at the 6 Mile corner, where my grandparents came in 06. Grandma came in 08. And so that's where I was raised, born in 45, and still in the same place.
What do you remember about those early years? Like, obviously 45, the war ends. You obviously don't have any members of 45, but, in those early years, call it 1950 when you're 5 or between 5 and 8, what was life like? What were you doing?
At that age, no worries. It was, things were good, had everything we needed. Looking back, it wasn't, things weren't as easy as they are now, that's for sure.
How so?
Well, Dad would have to go harness the horse to feed the cattle, that type of thing. Not me, but that type of thing. And then worked up to and got a tractor and could feed the cattle that way.
Did you have power on the old farm when you first?
Not till, I don't know the year for sure, but not till mid-50.
Mid-50.
54.
Do you remember that day?
Kind of. I certainly remember the coil oil lamps, on the table. That I certainly do. I remember having to get wood for the for the cook stove. And then it was really neat when Dad came home one day with a diesel stove for the living room, and then the job after that was to bring fuel up from probably once a day to put in the tank on it.
You had to bring up fuel to put in the tank?
From the tank down at the bottom of the hill, yeah. And the well, we had a well. There was no such thing as water flowing freely like it does now. Had to bring it in from outside. Just seeing Roger here earlier reminded me of the days when, what would it be, late 60s, I think, when the city wanted to, we owned the land, and still do own the land on the Alberta side of the highway, and the city wanted to bring water from the North Saskatchewan into town, and but they needed to cross farmers' land all the way from the river right up to Lloyd, and so we were able to. It wasn't an easy job, but the city finally relented and let the farmers along the way attach to the line, so that made life really easy. And they had it piped across the road underneath, of course.
So you're on the farm. You guys are tapped into the water main that brings all the water from the river.
Right. That was one of the things farmers kind of got together, and city said no to start with, and then farmers got together, and that was granted. Had to get together to get that concession, but so some didn't want it on the way up, but some did, and we still have it. We don't use it now, but for drinking, built a new house, and it's further away, but the old house still has piped water in.
I get to do a lot of these, so I get to reminisce about these old days.
Good.
And the no running water to me is always fascinating, because it's just something that, you just went and,
went outside, had an outhouse.
Right. And which sounds all lovely and dandy.
When we built the new house, we even moved that old, hadn't been used for many, many years, even moved that old outhouse over by the garden just for old
Just-
time's sake.
Yeah, just for a nice keepsake.
Not sure how many more years it's going to last. But
The old shitter, so to speak.
too over.
What did you do for fun back then? What was it like?
Fun.
Yeah,
I
fun.
don't know, it just kinda took care-
F-U-N.
It just kind of took care of itself. Didn't have any neighbors. Not till school time. School went to Westine School, which was just
A one-room schoolhouse.
Yeah.
How
Just
far away
2
from
mile, right at the 4 mile corner, half mile south, 2 miles west, and right on the corner. It's an acreage now for somebody.
I always love hearing. Did you walk? Did you ride a horse?
I do remember walking, but mostly it was bicycle.
Oh,
Yeah.
rode your bike.
Yeah.
Now was it 2
Except
miles
that-
uphill and 2 miles uphill on the way back as well?
Not quite like that story goes, but one year grade 3 teacher stayed at our place, Miss Tyler, and the snow got so bad that in the winter Dad always drove me and the teacher, but it was so bad that one time the only way to get to the school was to hitch the tractor to the old manure spreader, and we rode in the back. I'm sure much to her dismay. Well, it was, but got there anyway.
Where did the teacher live compared to you?
Oh, well, for that winter, she stayed at our place.
Oh, so that you
Yeah.
guys boarded a teacher?
Yeah. I don't know where other teachers lived, to tell you the truth, over the years. I was only there for grade 1 to 5. Grade 6 came to Lloyd, Queenie School, by bus then. And
What did you think of having a teacher live with you?
she was no problem, just outgoing, and yeah, she was kind of fun.
I always think
I'm not sure about the day going in the manure spreader, but
when you're at the one-room schoolhouse, did you have obviously no electricity? I assume.
no, right.
So everything was by lamp.
Yeah, I guess so. If it was in, like the old schools, you'll notice when you see them around the country, most of them had a wall of windows on the south side, and that was for both light and allowing a little more sun heat in. So I don't really. Of course, there was a stove at the back. That usually it was always some student that lived close. It was always his job to probably. And you read that when you see this old senior magazine that comes out of Saskatchewan, where you see the school stories. There was probably one family or kid close that had to be there early to stoke up the fire.
And bring in the water.
Yep.
That wasn't you?
The water cooler. No, never had to do that. Like the typical barrel-shaped water cooler that would be at the back of the room with a little push-button chrome thing on it to get water for drinking.
Were you always fascinated?
2 outhouses back, of course.
2 outhouses?
Yeah, well, it has to be one for boy and one for girl. I think in modern times they actually had them connected. I think boy and girl were in the same one with a wall. What were you going to say, Sean?
I was going to ask you, you're all over the books I read now of Lloyd as the photographer, and you've taken tons of pictures. Was that something as a kid you were interested in?
Slightly, yeah. Even early on, had a bit of an interest, but never to go, pro or anything like that. It was always kind of a fun thing to do. Although a number of years ago we did get doing, weddings and grads and all that. And really like doing event photography, and so it kind of matured a bit.
But that's all it ever was for you. You just enjoyed capturing some.
Yeah, I kind of. If we were doing this interview at home, I'd show you
picture after picture,
tons of albums of different topics and local history, and document.
What's your favorite part of local history?
The history.
What's the history?
Well, events that have happened over the years and how we got to where we are now, right from when the bar colonists came in '03 to like nothing, nothing, and made a go of it. To me, that's fascinating. And then built a town, a village and a town, and still here. I'm always quite disappointed when I see one of the nice historic buildings maybe be in jeopardy or knocked down even. Hope there's we still have some fine buildings downtown Lloyd, and they're downtown because that was the core of the city, and that's where the commerce developed. But yeah, there's some beautiful buildings, like where the old post office is, the clock tower building, the one on the south side, used to be a bank building, and beautiful. It had 2 columns out front, like European architecture, and yeah, it gets all covered over with some crap gray stuff, and the columns disappear, and the ornamentation on the building disappear, but the building is still there. I mean, it's a good brick building. But I suppose nowadays you could even have an outhouse and it wouldn't meet code. So that's one of the problems with saving stuff nowadays, is there's so many code restrictions that some stuff doesn't meet it anymore. And I don't know, seems like it gets knocked down rather than effort to save. How did we get on this? We were talking about going to school.
Welcome to the podcast world.
You're just wondering.
No, I'm fascinated. You're a guy who studied our local history a lot.
I don't know if I studied. I appreciated it, and
By appreciating something, you've invested time into reading about it and searching out different things.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like around Lloyd, well, there was a couple of books early on. One called Fort Pitt Trail. That kind of if all the districts would have done the history books the same time that, what was her name? Can't think of the author's name right now. Then a lot more history would have been saved. But just about every area around Lloyd has done a history book. And even some of them are updating them now. Like Manitou Lake updated theirs last year. I think it was 2 volumes. Payton updated theirs. Paradise Valley, I think. And so could have been done a little earlier even, but no, still interesting to go back and see some of those names. And
so what is it for history then that you enjoy so much?
I don't know. Just you should have given me a list of questions here. I could have studied that. I don't know. It just seems like it's interesting to me. Why? I don't know. Maybe because I never thought I'd live this long. Don't know.
Well, what are you at? You're 55, 75?
Will be soon.
Will be soon. When's your birthday?
December 13th.
Ooh.
Are you getting me something?
No, I don't. Wow, maybe. I don't know. Maybe next time you're in here, I'll have a frosty beverage to take the edge off for you.
Get the whole stories. Get the real story.
What are the real stories, Don?
No, I don't think there's anything that is going to be. I don't think there's anything that's going to be not told. So you jumped from. Where did we go? I was on a roll there one time.
Oh,
and then
you're
you jumped.
You say if I had
started Dave McCaw. I wanted to.
You said, I wish I had a list of all these questions so I could have prepared for it. I go, how would I possibly know that you gotta have a deep love of history without actually having the questions in front of me? I can't know what questions I'm going to ask until I listen to you.
I guess, and when you talk about history, that's why I guess got involved with. Years ago, Richard Larson and Colin Wright and Gordon Hudson kind of invited me to be part of the group that was involved with the origins of the Richard Larson Bar Colony Museum. And not just kind of, it's always fun to see and gather the artifacts that early settlers here used. And the museum kind of still continues. Be interesting to see in this 10-year sleep they're having.
Hiatus.
Good word, hiatus.
Yeah.
That hopefully it'll continue in even a better form herein. There'll be some parts missing that I know a lot of people will be disappointed about, especially the wildlife display. hear lots of comments about that.
10 years is a long time.
Yeah, yep. Things will change in 10 years. Yeah, and then the involvement of Lloyd having it their 100th anniversary in 2003 was involved with activities there.
Well, you mentioned you go from school out on the farm, right? The one-room school, to all of a sudden riding the bus coming to Lloyd.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming that had to have been, well, I remember riding the bus as a kid myself. I certainly enjoyed the bus.
Yeah, no problem there.
You go from riding your bike to a one-room schoolhouse to all of a sudden hopping on the school bus, riding the, 10, 15 minutes to the school, whatever it was back then.
Which was really good where we lived because it was the last one on and the first one off.
Perfect.
Unlike some
Other
country
poor
kids
souls.
spent hours on the bus,
What did you think of going to the new school, the bigger school, more kids?
Started out at Queenie School, grade 6 there. No, fine. Mrs. Bexfield was the teacher. Had to behave. Had to behave in her class.
I'm going to tell you this right now. You're using one of the words in the English dictionary I hate the most. Fine. Fine is a terrible word. terrible word.
Where did I use that?
You said it was fine. I'm wondering.
Good.
You go
it was
from
okay.
There was as a kid going from one room schoolhouse, biking there, self propulsion. Bad days, the teacher living with you, to hopping on a school bus and getting trooped off to Lloyd.
There was other kids, so,
That had to have been a big excitement, wasn't it?
A few from Westine area, yeah. Oh, it was good. And is good better than fine? Yeah, I'll try and use good. So then that was grade 6, 7, and half of 8. Because when we were half of 8, the junior high was built. And so then it wasn't quite ready in that half of 8, our class ended up taking class in the hallway at the old high school. We had to take a class, I don't know if you remember that, Sean, the old entrance to the gym, the gym downstairs. You had to come in that southwest door, go along a concourse, go down the stairs and around, and then get into the gym. But our class was up on that concourse. And for half a year until E.S. Laird was completed. And then we were the first class into E.S. Laird there. Junior high. Then it got named E.S. Laird later years. And then high school for 10, 11, 12. And then took vocational agriculture in U of S.
So why U of S?
It seemed to have the program. Yeah, no, a couple other friends were going there too, so that made it easy. Not good, not fine, easy.
I'm glad you're catching on. So you go to Saskatoon,
right?
Was that a jump? Did that seem you're moving away from home for the first time?
Yeah, maybe a bit. I don't know.
It was fine?
I wasn't stressed. It was good. Wasn't stressed about it. No.
What do you take your 2 years being away from home, being in university?
Just part of growing up. A little more, freedom, and still there wasn't a whole lot of time. Unlike a few of us, unlike other university and kids that go to university, we didn't have a wild time or anything like that. It was just, and didn't have much money to spend either on, entertainment or stuff like that. So it was.
You stay in the dorms?
No, first year stayed right in Kirk Hall on the university campus, and the second year stayed at a place on 8th Street, house that we
rented.
I was able to find, yeah.
Lots of people come in here and they talk about we didn't have the money or the means. Around this town for the last, what would we call it, 20 years? 30, whatever number you want to put there. It's been a very prosperous town.
Yes.
There's been money here.
Yeah, for sure.
And for a lot of kids, if they ever listen to us, they won't understand we didn't have the money.
Yeah.
So what does we didn't have the money mean when you went to university, where you had more freedom, but even with the freedom, you just didn't have enough means to really.
No, I think you're dead on. Like go to movies and that type of thing. Came home every 2 or 3 weeks on a weekend.
Did you get in any trouble, Don?
No.
Did you?
No, truthfully, didn't.
Went to school, came home, slept.
Basically. Wasn't involved in sports or anything, so.
Well, how do you get in? You know, we started before we got going. You bring up the McCaws a lot.
Oh, yeah. Main.
So is that the first? When do you get involved in that? Is that after high school, after college?
That was in 1967. So I'd met Dave at the Dale Carnegie course, and he just happened to mention, and we kind of got talking a bit about different things, and he said, I'm looking for somebody. And I said, well, possibly. Asked Dad if there was time I could, And, but he wanted me for ambulance work, which meant I hadn't taken a first aid course before that. So that was the first thing. I think Vic Juba was a teacher on my very first course. And so I took the first aid course.
Vic Juba was teaching first aid?
Yeah. And that was my first aid. And that was all the requirements were at that time. But unbeknownst to me, he really wanted me. He was starting up an operation in North Battleford, ambulance business there, and that's where he really wanted me. But I said, that not really going to work because we still have cattle to feed at home and everything. And so anyway, so I was there, did local ambulance.
I hate to interrupt. When you say
Please do.
local ambulance, are you talking the funeral home?
Yeah. Like years ago, lots of funeral homes had the ambulance service too, not just McCaw's. Lots did. And
so
why, you're going to say?
Yeah.
And probably because they had vehicles that were appropriate for moving patients. Now, the first thing you're thinking of is a hearse. But they also had station wagons and such, too.
So you get hired on to work in an ambulance as an EMT?
Wasn't EMT then. That came later years. So did ambulance there for a while. Then how did we get started with hospital ambulance service? Lloyd Ambulance went through a kerfuffle for a number of years. Dave finally said he's not doing it anymore. There was no money in it. He wasn't going to do it. So then the city contracted out to some scrupulous operators for a few years, and that didn't work. And then the hospital started their own ambulance, and I was able to work with them under Lloyd Ambulance Service. And then what happened next here? Then it went private. Might have that mixed up. Maybe it was still private when Larry Kendall owned it. And then the hospital owned it. Anyway, kind of a progression there.
Okay. Something here I've missed. Because you went to school, you went to university to become,
Farm.
A farm, just
yeah,
farm.
Vocational agriculture.
Right.
Basically farmer.
Then you take a first aid course, and now you become ambulance driver?
Attendant.
So Bessie out on the farm or in apartment buildings having a heart attack, and you show up and haul her off?
Well, there was always two people.
Sure.
Minimum.
But am I that far off?
What? No.
If you get a call, somebody's having health problems, broken arm.
After some, training. Yes.
Really?
What?
What? Can't you I'll try and explain my...
I didn't show up in blue jeans with bull poop on my foot.
No. I don't mean it that way. I mean it. I guess here's where my surprise comes from
Okay.
is in today's world, we have EMTs that go to
Take courses.
That's
More-
right.
More and more courses.
more and
Yeah,
more and
yeah,
more.
Yeah.
And
Never ending, actually, if you want. Yes.
okay.
And then took the MT course. It was offered through SAIT in Calgary. Back then, you'd call it online. It was basically in the basement of the old Meridian School on 50th there. They were hooked up to SAIT in Calgary, and it was all done on computer then. And then they'd come up and do the practical portions of the course. So I can't remember what year that was, though.
How many years have you worked with McCaws?
This is my 53rd year.
53 years with McCaws.
Yeah. Didn't think I was that old, did you?
Well, no.
So-
I
So then funerals and that, and they still call me.
53 years isn't dating you. I'm not worried about the age part of it. 53 years, Don, is for most people in today's world is
Yeah.
a lifetime to work for anyone is
Yeah,
like 5
yeah.
years.
No, working for McCaw Funeral Service is different than working for any other job because they're so accommodating, they're so flexible. You know, I still take quite a bit of. Here we are, what year? 2020, and they're probably getting more removal call. They put me on call nights quite a bit. You know, like for the other job that nothing to do with ambulance, of course, but for funerals and night calls and pickups and removals from hospitals and homes and whatever.
Is that tough work?
It's interesting work. It's you feel the compassion for the families who have just lost somebody. Never easy, no matter what.
You say interesting.
Yes.
I think difficult when I hear interesting, but maybe I'm wrong with that association.
I guess experience might make that difference.
53 years of that. Obviously, you enjoyed working either for McCaw's or working for McCaw's plus the work. Like, because you never just went to farming full time. Like,
Well, kind of, yeah. Yeah, kind of. Like McCaw's wasn't full time. It was part time.
part time.
And farming was full time, so full time plus part sometimes. No, they were pretty good about working around my life, and still are.
There's a surprise for me. I had no idea you did that for 53 years.
Oh, yeah. Let's see, what's tonight? I think I'm on call tonight, actually, now that you mention it.
Really?
So,
I'm sure you can't really talk about those experiences of any of the calls you've had, but being on call. That type of being on call is different than my idea of being on call. Being on call for my work is you get a phone call and you deal with a customer and
well,
or maybe it's the same thing. I don't know. I look at
same here, just different. Just something that has to be done. And because they're so caring people. I think that rubbed off on me, I hope.
But just to stick with this for a few more minutes, because I can see you glancing at the sheet and you're going, well,
I'm thinking we're forgotten something.
there's nothing to forget.
Oh, I do want to okay, carry on.
No.
I'll interview you first. What are you saying? What do you want to ask?
Well, I want to ease your mind. There's no such thing as we missed something or forgot something. This is the journey right here.
Certainly.
So stay with me in the moment, so to speak.
Certainly.
In saying that, if there's something that you want to make sure, please pass along.
Actually, it kind of blends in with all
Sure,
this.
we'll fire away.
Because of the years in ambulance and then working for hospital ambulance, three of us, the ambulance manager, Graham Howie, and Norm Namier, who also is, you'll know that name locally, we all worked together doing ambulance. Graham was the manager. But one day, Graham calls us into the office and says, one thing isn't really working here. And now what? And he says, we keep using tow trucks when we're going out to collisions. We keep using tow trucks, having to wait for tow trucks to come and pull vehicles apart. And he said, we can do that better nowadays. And so Lions Club donated a set of jaws for us. That was the first thing. But Graham suggested, why don't we start a rescue squad in Lloyd? There wasn't one. No other group was doing that. And so raised a bit of money, bought an old oily oil field truck that got cleaned up really nice, and got tools in there, and that's when we started doing actual, vehicle rescue and extrication. And the rescue squad continues to this day, and it's just impressive. I'm not involved active in it anymore, but it's impressive the equipment they have and the calls they get, like their underwater rescue and their dog. They have one girl that's good with dogs, and more a care dog than anything, but they've diversified so much and dedicated to the community. And then as a result of seeing so many collisions where people were injured and hurt, I started doing I put together pictures from some of the collisions we did just to show people, that, especially students, it was aimed at students, that don't realize the severity of a collision. You're sitting in a vehicle and you got no seatbelt, and all of a sudden that vehicle hits another vehicle, and everything in that car, doesn't matter whether it's you or the dirt on the floor or your ice cream cone or the coffee that was sitting next to you, all goes forward until it hits something, and that something is probably going to be the steering wheel or the windshield or the dashboard. And so anyway, I put a slideshow together, and for a number of years took that around to schools in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and student conferences and SAD groups and that type of thing. I really enjoyed that, and I still get the odd person says, "Oh, I seen your show back in whatever year," and said was that made a difference. I said in my life. So,
well, you think driving is probably, and you probably have the statistics on it, I bet, but driving has got to be statistically one of the most dangerous things we do on a daily basis.
Well,
and yet it becomes so commonplace or mundane or whatever word you want to use to make it normal that we don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I'm surprised when there's still people that don't wear a seatbelt because it's infringing on their rights. Not so much like it did when it first came in, but no, there's ways to protect yourself.
You remember when the seatbelt story first came in?
Yep. So, no, it's never a problem for me. Always wear them, still do. If you don't, for some reason you pull out in the road and you haven't got them, oh crap. But I don't hardly ever forget. It's just natural, get in, click. Hope you're the same.
Actually, absolutely.
Yeah, good.
It's the seatbelt to me, other than the when you're out on the farm, I guess, and driving through a field and you're checking cattle or something. Yeah. To me, I got my thoughts on that. But when you hop on, the road to work or through the city or whatever, yeah, absolutely, it clicks in. I try and think of a world before when that wasn't so commonplace. I actually find it humorous. I find it humorous that people would still fight it because I just don't see it isn't an inconvenience, really. No. I don't see an inconvenience, and it has been proven to save lives.
The show was a combination of seatbelt use and impaired driving. So they're both obvious nowadays. There's still people.
So when you first formed the rescue squad,
3 of us.
Were you on the rescue squad then, going out?
Yeah, all 3 of us. And then we gathered more people that were interested. And I think we had a group of 8 there in the early years.
And were you going out quite often for that?
Not like they do now. I think it's eased off now. It's this, the times we're going through, and the oil field not as busy as it used to be. No, I don't think they're doing the calls they used to. you can see that. But you still get the, oh, there's a semi jackknife in the ditch, or there's rollover on the curve, or there's all that kind of stuff too still, but not like it used to be.
Once again, I find myself thinking, you've seen some things then, and some pretty tough things to deal with. I assume, teenagers, young kids, families, you name it. And your life has been, surrounded by a tough part of life, which is death and destruction and...
No, seen a lot of tragic,
tragedy. Thank you.
Teens and, teens, you get to a scene and there's a young lad never going to go anywhere again. And it kind of hits you. You go home that night and you, after the call, and you get thinking about it. If he'd have just had a stupid seatbelt on, he'd be getting up in the morning. I just can't, it just bothers me how tragic that is for the families that lose young people. And it's not as bad anymore, I don't think. Now you hear more about the drug situation, such. But anyway,
did you ever have a day? I'm going to stick on this for at least a couple more minutes. You're trying to speed through things. I'm not going to let you do it.
Well, I'm scared you're going to miss something.
Just for the audio and the video.
Yes. Uh-oh.
I've now commandeered the list, so I can make sure I don't miss anything done. I got you.
I guess we're over. We're done then. Thank you.
Did you ever have, you mentioned tragedy.
Yep.
Did you just ever have a day where you were like, I just don't know if I want to keep doing this?
No, I don't think so. No, maybe I'm screwed up that way, but no.
Well, I would not use the word screwed up.
No,
I would use.
I know what you mean.
I just listen. Death is one of the inevitabilities for all of us, so it happens. Actually,
absolutely.
So you have a job to do every single day if you're McCaws in this town or any town in the world, right?
Yep.
So it's a job that somebody has to do, right?
We know not the day nor the hour.
That's right. So I think it's unique because most people, go into the world to be lots of farming. And I just wondered if there was ever a day where you're like, I'm just going to buy a couple more head and I'm just going to be a farmer. And I'm tired of getting called out in the middle of the night to go to somebody's house to be around pain and suffering and that kind of thing. That's all. Most people, maybe I'm wrong on this. You're a lot older than me and you can tell me different. I find want to distance themselves from tragedy and from tough things like that.
And deny it.
Right.
Like they're not going to die. And trust me, they are. Not on my shift, I hope, but no. I'm not sure what the next comment would be there. I was onto something, but lost it. Just fact of life. Fact of life.
But you never ever had a day, an hour where you're like, I just...
No, I haven't. Maybe I'm strange that way. Maybe there's something wrong with me that way.
Or is there something I'm missing on that side? Because obviously, in 53 years of doing it, is there a beauty or a
no beauty,
a passion? Is there something about helping families maybe get through?
I think there's something to that. Yeah, when you're assisting them with, and compassionately, and even this year, there's been, of course, we're not going to talk about any individual cases, but there's, some youth passings that got to be traumatizing for a family. And anyway, next question.
Sure. How about antiques? You have your antique collection. You've told me about this before. That is obviously a passion.
That's that's a passion in later life. Yes, it gives you something to do and
What
sales to go to and people to meet. That's the neat thing about that hobby is the people you meet, all over the place. And the other thing, I think it's good for the mind because when you have a collection of whatever it is, you see it hanging on the wall and you think, yeah, I got that back in Calgary in '82 in that store there that isn't there anymore. Or I got that up at the sale just north on the highway one year, and that kind of stuff. I think it keeps the mind alert. And there's always learning about stuff too, and values and collectors and auctions.
do you have a favorite piece that you found?
I don't know if I could narrow it down to one. I like local history stuff. There's oil and gas related, gas station stuff, pumps, signs, that kind of stuff. Country store kind of stuff, signs, that. If you ever walk through an old country store, that was a neat thing about going to French and Butte and watching through Buckta's store. Walking in Buckta's store, sad to see it deteriorate, but little country stores like that aren't around anymore unless they're just museum replicas. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff and the memories it brings back.
We talked a little bit beforehand about traveling and touring Alberta, Saskatchewan. I first want to start, when you were a kid, did your parents take you, did you go touring anywhere? Did you go to the lakes?
Sandy Beach was the
place.
Was the event.
What was Sandy Beach like back when you were a kid?
Lots of sand, nice water. Yeah. Not as much. It depended in that drought year when the lake just about dried up. Remember that? Oh, I don't know how many years ago. 20 years maybe.
Well, I remember
there was a lot of beach sand that year.
Early 90s.
Oh yeah.
We could walk across Petrus Slough, which is the Petrus Lake. We call it a lake, but I mean, as kids, there's an island out in the middle of it, and the island's underwater, right? But as kids, Grandma used to talk about there'd be like a little jut where you could walk to the island. Well, as kids, you could walk across it. There was
neat.
It was so dry, everything was white with alkali.
Oh yeah.
So that's probably around the time you're talking about Sandy Beach.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what year that was. The city had dug some wells. Originally, the city dug some wells there to get water for Lloyd at Sandy Beach. Right. Then maybe that's when they went to the river when that dried. Should have asked Roger that when he was in. He'd know.
He talked a little bit about the water project of Lloyd. Yeah. As you get older, you've mentioned you like traveling or like sightseeing, and specifically in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Is there any, you mentioned there's like, and I would agree with you, in our provinces, there's, just in Canada alone, it's such a big country. There's just so much to explore. What has been some of the fun for you in doing that? What have you found?
Well, I don't know. I find like this summer, hard to believe, but we'd never been up in northern Alberta. Like, I don't mean a long ways north. I mean like Peace River, Grand Prairie, that loop. And then we took a round trip in Saskatchewan this summer, early fall, that had been done before, but things change from year to year and up in, PA circle around that way. And we always like going for drives.
What's your favorite place to take a drive to?
Oh, anywhere, really. One thing we're trying to do, and I might not ever get it done, but we're half done touring Route 66.
Okay.
From Los Angeles, we've got as far as Texas. Love that. That's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's just like some of that road is just like it's back in the 60s. And they're memorializing it by, all the little diners and gas stations and little museums they have dedicated to 66. So I like doing that. Would like to finish that someday if possible. But I don't know. The way the U.S. is going right now.
Where does that start? Illinois?
Yeah, Chicago.
Chicago, St. Louis through Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Amarillo, Albuquerque?
I think so.
Flagstaff, all the way to L.A.
all the way to Santa Monica was the end of it.
Why did you pick Route 66, or what was it that?
It was just a nostalgia and my love for old stuff.
So when did you? Sorry, you maybe said it. When did you start doing that?
Oh, I don't know.
10 years ago? 20 years ago?
Yeah, probably 10. Yeah.
Were you taking the kids
No.
with you?
No.
This was after
No.
the kids
Yeah.
were gone.
Yeah.
You and the wife said,
Yeah.
let's try Route 66.
Yep. Why not?
Fly down there and then rent a car?
No. It was probably when we were coming back or going to. We kind of snowbirded for a little bit, and so probably coming back is when we probably did most of it. We did a wedding, went to a wedding in L.A., and we did a good portion that year on the West End. So.
And what's been maybe one of the highlights of Route 66?
Oh, highlight! There's too many to list. No, just the nostalgia of seeing the old neon and the neon lights and that kind of thing.
You say there's too many to list, but
Yeah, just like pick up a book sometime on Route 66, and it'll just take you back. It takes.
you're my
No.
book on Route 66,
What?
Mr. Don. You are my book on Route 66.
Well, I should have brought the book for you. No, I've taken a lot of pictures. Taken a lot of pictures along the way.
So what you're
yes.
suggesting is to the listener is instead of listening about Route 66, they should go experience Route 66.
Absolutely. There's enough motels and that all along the way that you could stay there as long as you wanted up and down that road. Now, there's lots of sections. If you're one of those that don't like, if driving across Bald Prairie for 100 miles, you might not enjoy it, but there's still always something to see. And there's many guidebooks. You just carry that, let the wife read it to you, or point out the next one coming up. And
Are you a GPS guy when you go on Route 66, or do you pull out the hard map?
mostly the map, but now with the GPS, the last couple of times,
Do you miss the hard map?
yes, definitely. I still keep one in the vehicle all the time. Alberta and Saskatchewan. Yep.
Do you find it humorous when kids find those and don't know how to read them?
Like a dial telephone. Yep.
What piece of technology do you remember as a kid that I'd have no clue about now? I certainly remember the dial telephone.
Technology. I don't know. Well, maybe you and I would maybe remember the old wooden wall phone on the wall where you had to lift the receiver, turn the crank to get the operator's attention to make a call. Maybe that.
I certainly never used that.
That says more about your age. It says more about mine.
Certainly.
What's next?
He's speeding us
You're
along.
stalling, you're
He's speeding us along. He's got a hot dinner date. Let's talk about meeting your wife. You've been married now for how many years?
Let's see. Where did I put that calculator?
46?
Okay. Yep. Yep. Good.
How did you meet?
Not 100% sure. Just kind of happened.
What does it just kind of happen mean?
Well, I think probably.
That is about the
She's
vaguest.
gonna shoot me. If she hears this, she's gonna shoot me. Oh, we'd met with friends different times. So yeah.
But she grew up around here.
Yeah, just out of town.
Was it love at first sight?
Well, it depends. I need your description of that.
Well, here's my description.
She was a nice girl.
Let's put it this way. My wife will not shoot me on this comment because I met the first woman I ever met on the college campus was my wife, and I blew her off and gave her the cold shoulder. She loves telling the story, meaning I said like, hey, like I'm too cool, and kept walking. We ended up dating like a month later, and now I've been with her 13 years.
Yeah.
But that isn't love at first sight. I didn't think like when I saw her, oh, there's the one. And she knows that, and she probably thought the same thing about me because she hated me for the first month because I wouldn't talk to her. Now, that's my description of love at first sight is she walks by you, and there's just something inside where you're like, that's the one. Some people have that. I've heard it, and I go, I don't understand that. I guess maybe that means that you found them attractive, but they say there's something more. And that's what I mean by love at first sight.
No, I think it took a bit to get involved.
So In 46 years of marriage, that's a long time.
2 kids.
2 kids. What's some pieces of advice you'd pass along to people from your 46 years of marriage? What's made it work?
Be tolerant. Be compassionate.
I think those are both very. I just assume in 46 years there's highs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm
Wedding day is a high, right? And then there's some lows.
sure. That's just life. Yep.
How about kids? You've got 2?
Jason born in 80 and Jennifer born in 84. Jennifer is living up at Bonnyville. They have 2 kidlets. Jack 6 and Rose 3.
Would you take being a grandparent or going back to a parent?
Well, the trouble with them being up there, I don't get to see them as much as I probably would like to. But they're busy, and Ruth gets up there more than I do.
So would you take going back to being a parent or a grandparent today?
Oh, no, let's go with the latter.
You feed them full of candy and ship them off. What did you worry about as a parent? I ask this because at some point your kids hopefully listen to this. And maybe someday they'll wonder. I certainly wonder what my parents worried about when they had 5 kids and were roaming about, and what lessons they were trying to instill and everything else. Growing up, what did you worry about your 2 kiddos running around, going to school in Lloyd?
Yeah. Well, of course you wonder about, their friends and who they're acquainting with, and their safety at any time, whether it's that first drive with the vehicle or just regular parent concern, I think.
I love how you like to think your life is regular. You've lived 75 years, you know that. Or almost.
What?
You've lived 75 years.
Yeah.
That's a the way I look at you, Don, is I look and I see a guy who's lived well over 2 times my lifespan. And there's knowledge in that.
Well, got you fooled.
You don't think so?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think if you don't learn as you go, maybe I'm getting lazy in the last years here, but no. And the hobbies keep me going. Everything, the work across the street keeps me going. Yeah.
What did you ever you speak very highly of the McCaws?
Certainly.
Would you give the McCaws the kind of like they mentored you as you went along?
Yes. Yeah.
What are some of the things you learned from them?
Dave, for sure.
Yeah.
His caring attitude for everybody. There's no dismissing anything. It's always full care. I don't know if I got the right words for that, but his compassion, like genuine compassion, not just because he's got a funeral service and going to charge somebody for a funeral. It's true compassion.
There's not too many of those people in the world, is there?
So,
how about, let's go to some Lloyd things. Some
Certainly.
things you've been involved in with the Lloydminster community. You mentioned the 100th year anniversary.
Right.
You mentioned a couple of different things. We've been at the archive meetings together. I've seen, the history part of Lloyd obviously pulls you in. What is the John Deere slow race?
Was part of the museum was the what's the right name? Why am I not remembering that name? That's bad. The Heritage Society. The Heritage Society, and it fell on us to put on us in the city to put on a Canada Day celebration every Canada Day out at Weaver Park. And it was like showing tractors and stuff like that, and threshing machine. And then we'd heard about a race in the States, which was a John Deere slow tractor race. Have you ever been to one, Sean?
I can't say I have.
And so it only allowed John Deere's, which kind of upset. There's still a guy at Wainwright that is upset because we only let John Deere's in, wouldn't let his IH in. But anyway, starting line here. Start it up, put it in gear, don't touch the clutch, and the last one to finish the line or get across wins. So it was just something unique, and it was surprising how many. We drew tractors from all over the place for a few years there. And then I can't remember why it died off. Well, the city took the event and took it over to Bud Miller Park. But I think it was kind of, we'd run its course before that anyway, but we'd get hundreds and hundreds of people and probably 25, 30 tractors from all over the place, Alberta and Saskatchewan. And the Heritage Society was always of interest, and it carries on. I'm not active there anymore, but
it's kind of the reverse of how a race should work.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I assume the fans and the people on the bystanders would love.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. And everybody, winners got trophies, and we'd had, for the oldest tractor and the oldest driver and youngest driver and all that kind of stuff. So
You've had a healthy hand in community involvement. What attracted you to want to be involved so much in the community?
I don't know. Those type of things that you see on that list, like Heritage Society and Museum Board. That type of thing, archives.
What are you maybe most proud of then that you've been a part of?
Well, just all of them. Like archives, there's other people other than me that were probably the instigators on that. And Lynn Manners and Shirley Aston for sure. On the like the centennial celebrations, just as luck would have it with the involvement of executive over the years, I ended up chairman in 2003. So one of the highlights of that was when we had Prince Edward come to town to be a part of the celebration, and so had the chance to meet and greet and do a toast to him at the up at the stockade there. But there was events. The ladies, there was quite a big committee on that, and everybody did their part and had several events in the year.
What was it like meeting a prince?
Well, he was normal guy. I've had, sometime tell you, but had numerous opportunities over the years to photograph royals.
You have?
Right.
Okay.
Just the way things worked out, or sometimes I've tried to. And, a few years ago, talked to Prince Philip, talked to Prince Edward, talked to Prince Charles, talked to Camilla. Just a little eccentric hobby. But got to see Anne. What was the other one? What was Edward's wife? Name's not coming. Got to see her. Prince Andrew. Got to see him. Missing one of them. Never did get Harry. Caught Will and Kate in Calgary. Yeah, it's just fun photographing.
That's
Now you're gonna hang. Okay, you're gonna slam your laptop and say we're over. We're done.
No. I was I was thinking in my head. I don't know. My brain
got to see Charles and Di too. Got to see him, but not greet him.
Not greet him. What an interesting way of life.
Hobby.
No, just their lives. When you can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine just strolling into Calgary and flocks of people like that? Like that's bigger than any movie
I wonder
star.
what they say to each other when they get back to the hotel room.
right? You wonder how they just like disappear to like so they can just go and walk down the street in regular clothes and nobody know them.
I heard that Charles and Camilla were going to be in Regina, so I said to Ruth, I think I'll run down there. And so I got my parking spot early, got to where I wanted to be. Here, camera angles are always important. I figured they'll park there, so I'll be here. And I'll be darned if they didn't park down here, which meant they had to walk right by me. And I had my big camera with a longer lens and everything. And Charles looks at it and says, "My, quite the outfit you got there." And I said, "Better to see you with." And he laughed. And then Camilla came along behind them, strolling. And she was so gracious. Everybody says she's kind of but she was so gracious and actually beautiful too when you see her close. So that was interesting. Got to see Edward one time in Winnipeg. That was by chance. Andrew and Fergie at Pulp Mill, Meadow Lake Pulp Mill. They were there for some occasion. Anyway, now you think I'm totally strange.
Actually, what I wonder is, you got to stop worrying that I think you're strange. I find it fascinating. I actually wonder what the first camera you ever bought was, or maybe the first camera you ever used.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if I remember.
What?
Probably a little Pentax.
Is it not a... I don't know what a little Pentax is,
No.
first off.
Small.
Just a little
Cheap.
small guy.
Small, cheap, yep.
But that's where the love of it started?
I think so. I think so.
Does it ever blow your brain how good cameras are today?
Oh, amazing, eh? Totally amazing. You know, like the
Even on the cell
phones
phone.
take better pictures than the early 35 millimeter film cameras did.
Oh, that's interesting. I would run. I look at your hobby of taking photography and driving up to Regina to catch a glimpse of the royal family, and relate it to what I'm doing here.
So the guys in the little white coats are just around the corner, are they?
See, I'm saying I've driven all the way to Vancouver Island to interview somebody before. So I
Awesome.
get it.
Good. Good.
Now, do you think the white coats are outside for me?
No,
Right?
Definitely not. No, because you're so dedicated.
I don't know. Am I?
Yeah. Yes,
I mean-
you are. Yes, you are. I've heard that.
We're sitting here.
especially with the sports, in the sports world. Yeah, you've done some amazing stuff here with like very notable.
Oh, sure. But I
Yeah.
mean, you're talking about the Royals.
Well, I mean,
I literally have got to talk through a computer to some famous people. I don't know. Is that any different than driving to Regina and taking a picture of a Royal? If it is, well, that's news to me, I think. And I would say the lab coats are probably waiting for both of us outside.
we'll go at the back door.
That's right. Yeah, we won't let them know we're coming. I just find it very interesting. That's a strong hobby. Because, I mean, we're not talking about, someday somebody's going to listen to this. And they're going to go, maybe they won't understand, but to drive to Regina is, I don't know, 5.5 hours, 5 hours, something like that. So that's a 10-hour
Something.
round trip.
Yeah, probably.
So that's a passion. That's something you really enjoy doing.
I should get a thank you from the gas company.
You should. Right? I mean, I guess I get it. I understand it. You need passions in life. Now, on your list of things you're checking off, what is one more you want to talk about? What's one I've missed? Because I'm sure I've missed one on there.
No, being involved in different things over the years. The stint on the credit union board. Was on the Saskweepool committee for a number of years. Still on the archives board. Museum board, well, that's kind of, I guess, still on the Richard Larson Bar Colony board. Anything to do with history. And when you're talking about our Border City Collector show, which we probably won't be having this coming spring, that's a fundraiser for the archives. So now with no people, and that won't happen. That was always fun. Go to antique shows everywhere, and then we put on this one here, and the Border City Collectors Club.
What's the biggest change you've seen in Lloyd in your time, over your years? I mean, obviously size, everybody's going to say the population growth.
Yeah, for sure.
But what's come with the population growth?
Well, certainly the people, more maybe the traffic and crime. I think it seems like there's maybe more crime. Definitely traffic. For a while, like more services available too, more shopping and retail. What am I missing?
No, I think you're doing good. Last question for you then. If you could go back to your 20-year-old self and impart some wisdom, what would you tell him?
Just enjoy every day as it comes. Believe in yourself, believe in a God, believe in, go to church, have some faith. And when you have faith, you don't have any worries. Because everything is
the way it's meant to be?
Yep. What else?
I don't know. I don't have the list. You have the list. I think that's about got it.
Yeah.
If there's,
no.
I've stuck you over the coals for long enough.
Yeah. No, it's fun, Sean. You certainly make somebody think.
Well, I'll say it again. I explain this to pretty much anyone who comes through here, especially for the archives, because it is so relatable to all of you. You've lived a lot of years. I don't mean that to date you as old. I don't. I mean that is you've experienced a lot of things.
Yes.
And that experience is transferred into knowledge. And for us sitting here, me sitting here, I'm trying to pull as much of that experience, that knowledge out as I humanly possibly can. Because when the camera goes off and when this gets turned off and you walk out the door, that's what's left. And so for me, if there's more to pull, I'll keep pulling. And that's what I enjoy about it, because you've seen things. You've seen the progress or the growth of Lloyd. You've seen different things change from, an outhouse and no running water, no power, no TV, to where it is today. That's a lot. And so if there's anything else that you want to,
probably
we'll let the lab coats wait a few more minutes.
Probably as soon as I get in the truck or hit 50th, I'll think of something. But no, I think you've dug deep.
Well, I appreciate you coming in, Don, and
Lynn Smith, Lynn Young will be totally pleased because she was having trouble getting hold of me. So I'm glad we finally got it worked in.
No, it's been a real pleasure. I always enjoy the dance of a new guest.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us today. If you just stumbled on the show, please click subscribe. Then scroll to the bottom and rate and leave a review. I promise it helps. Remember, every Monday and Wednesday, we will have a new guest sitting down to share their story. The Sean Newman Podcast is available for free on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcast fix. Until next time. Hey, Keeners, thanks for tuning in again today. I hope everybody's having a great week. Like I say, I hope you're on your way to the lake. You get some time off to enjoy with family and friends and this great weather we're having. Wherever you're at, have a great week, and we'll catch up to you next week, all right? Until then.